Okay, we got 2 minutes to go. Okay, it's already 5 a.m. Let's all rise. Let's begin our Hoon Dok Hae by offering one standing bow to our beloved true parents. Hanim Goa, Champuminime, Sogete, Kimbe, Baro, our most beloved heavenly parents, today, Wednesday, May the 13th, 2015, here at Washington Family Church, National Cathedral, here at Washington, D.C. We pray for the victory, the protection, and the success of our true parents with our true mother here on earth and our true father who is guiding us always in the spirit world. We pray as well for all the true children that are still here on in this beautiful earth, and we pray as well for the assistance of the true children who are there already in heaven. And we pray for the true grandchildren, that they will also be protected from all harm, and the members who are attending them. And we pray for our elder sister, Sanjinin, and her husband, Insupnin, as the president and vice president of our Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. It is based in Chungpyeong, Korea. We pray for their wise guidance, and we pray for their success always, as we pray for the other leaders there who are taking care of them, and the UPF chairman, Dr. Chung Chik-kyang, his family, and all the continental leaders all over the world, in Europe, South Africa, in Africa itself, and South America, and in Oceania, in Asia, and here in North America and the Caribbean. We pray for our Bishop Ki-Hung Kim and his family, and we pray as well for all the presidents of all the national headquarters of all the unification churches, or the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification headquarters all over the world. We pray for here in America with our President, Dr. Reverend Michael Balcom, that will be assisted by his staff in 4 West 43rd Street, as well as his family in the preparations of the coming of our two mother in Manhattan, New York, and in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we pray for all the districts and regions all over the world, especially here in District 1, our district leader, Reverend Ernest Patton, and his wife Keiko Patton, and children. We pray for his success, always that he can reach his goals as we pray for all the leaders, pastors, and center leaders in our centers all over the world, that they will to reach their goals. From Towson Center, we pray for Reverend James Stewart. In Norfolk, Virginia, Reverend Akira Ota, and Richmond, Virginia, we pray for Father Adrian Bayo and his wife Ayala Salman. In the Beltway, Ms. Lejeune in Northern Virginia, and in Maryland, we pray for Pastor Robert and Reverend Red Jones, Reverend Jim Boothby, and all the members there. And here in Washington, D.C., we pray for the success of the ACLC, the American Clergy and Leadership Conference, being steered and really taken care of by Archbishop Augustus Stallings, the chairman, and we pray for their co-chairman and all the members of the ACLC, that they will really reach out, not only here in Washington, D.C., but also all over America, all the pastors and ministers, and let them learn about your will and the divine principle. And we pray for our pastor, Reverend Zagery Oliver, daughter Brianna and Fumi son, and all our blessed families here that are connecting to the church, Washington Family Church. We pray for each other's success. We pray for good health and prosperity. And we pray for our counsel, that we can always overcome many of the obstacles and many things that we need to pay as our obligations. We pay on time, ahead of time, all the time. And we pray all of this in all our names. And in my name, Athanasius Francis and my wife, Wasana, bless single family. Aju, Aju, Aju. Good morning. We're now on page 98, Roman numeral number 5, tradition, official business, responsibility. And the subtopic is tradition. Let us establish the living tradition of history before which all mankind will kneel down in tears and reverence. My tradition should shape you, and your tradition should shape the nation. That tradition must be the example which can be followed by this nation and the whole world. Gather achievements over which your descendants will cry. This is the source of pride. Let us make it our daily objective to fight for goodness. Let us march forward in the process of this fight, looking toward the glory of victory. We should not rejoice over victory on the individual level. We must be able to struggle beyond the individual to the family, clan, national, and worldwide levels. You may stand aloof while we go up by building a tower from the bottom, but when the tower of sincerity which we build outgrows your own, you necessarily have to come under us. And we're now on page 99. You must know the direction of the heavenly dispensation. Should you discover that your purpose contradicts God's desire and the objective of this age and history, bear it mercilessly. Before your blossoming youth passes by, set up a sign of loyalty and filial piety which can be recognized by both heaven and earth. Let us be the locomotive that pulls the fortune of history. Even when bleeding at the point of death, never become a descendant of betrayers. We should not be dominated by money. If we restore people after establishing the tradition of our ideology, then material will naturally follow. Can money alone save a nation? Let us save it by our ideology and tradition. Let us have the pride which we alone hold since the creation of heaven and earth. Let us establish the tradition which we can be proud of and which will be acknowledged by future generations for thousands and thousands of years. I'm worried lest you should have money before the tradition and foundation are sufficiently established. It is because I like to see you suffer. No, it isn't. But unless you transcend food, sleep, clothes, you will not be able to restore health. If the root is deep, the tree grows large. You must be one with God's desire, circumstances, and heart. You'll be destroyed unless you unite with His content, direction, and purpose. Just as boils are removed from human skin, you will certainly be destroyed unless you become a good object which is well connected with the cause. We should not try to sow the seed of happiness, but the seed of suffering. Establish traditions as ancestors who are enduring today for the eternal future. New members should inherit the tradition of that path of the cross which older members walk on the family and clan levels, and then should walk the remaining path of national indemnity. And now we're on page 100. When you have to die, where will it be? In what area will you have established a condition upon your death? Dedicate everything and rejoice. It is the principle of creation that if you become empty in that way, you will be filled. Have you ever imagined what will fill the emptiness which you experience in dedicating even your body? After 33 years of hard suffering, Jesus dedicated his life in utterly difficult circumstances, and upon that empty ground a standard of world salvation was established. A wise man, even at the point of starvation, do not eat his own piece of bread, but gives it to someone else who is in the same situation, thus receiving a reward which will last for 1,000 of years. Who can open the door of heaven's hope? Heaven is searching for a man who has something to say, something to show, and something to leave behind him. Heartfelt tears overcome all corruption and barriers. When such tears are connected with real sweat and blood, for the dispensation of restoration will be quickly fulfilled. In doing God's work in His place, I am the best servant of all servants. Example, the representative servant remembered by God, the best adopted son, the best child of all children, and the most faithful member of the Unification Church. Open and close, the representative member. You must have this kind of attitude and lifestyle. The eternal victory of mankind must be such that your victory is nothing but my victory. Establish the highest standard of suffering so that you may show it to others. You must inherit the thought of tradition. We cannot inherit tradition without inheriting God's eternal circumstances. The main thought of the Unification Church is the establishment of an ideal world. Tradition is needed for this. Generally speaking, he who does not know to love his hometown doesn't know to love his nation. Tradition is not changed by time and circumstances. Open and close weathering, the position of a heavenly descendant must absolutely be established. And now we are on page 101. Let us not forget tradition. We have to establish tradition based upon your or our conscience. Establish the tradition of mainstream thought. Its source is parental love. Tradition is needed for the purpose of connecting the beginning and end of a process, but not for the purpose of bearing fruit. You all have to become exhibits representing the Unification Church. Freedom is given to those who can preserve the tradition of history. An advanced nation is one which can always maintain its tradition. However huge a river is, it certainly has its main current, head current inside itself. Today's ice is an extension of the past, a condensation of the present, and initiator of the future. You should rather have the living tradition of your teacher than celebrate his birthday. And now we're on the second subtopic under tradition, official business, responsibility. Number 2, public purpose. Blessing is public. In order to receive blessing, therefore, you must become a public offering to set up a condition for that purpose. How precious it is to take the responsibility of a public task. A parent who is responsible in a public position can never have bad children. I am the one who is continually used for the public purpose. In the last days, God will place all men and all nations on the same starting line in order to make them start all over again. Assume liabilities yourself while giving the benefits to the public purpose. Serving the public purpose becomes a foundation on which to receive heavenly blessing. Blessing comes after you have trod the whole path and finished the battle. Goodness, happiness, righteousness, and blessing, these are all of public nature. To possess this, however, you must go through a public course. Although personal things come and go, you must live public blessing for the nation and mankind. The one who constantly lives for the public purpose is the strongest, most formidable, and wisest man. Public implies something of an historical and future nature. In other words, it is guaranteed by history and proves itself in the present and future. We did not put ourselves in a public position. We must remember that we are placed in that position because we are connected with our ancestors' desires and circumstances and God's public benefit. Therefore, all those spirit men with whom we are historically connected are on our side. Only if we put ourselves in the position of an offering with more public conviction and loyalty than our ancestors did, with all the good past historical and public connections reappear today. I am the king of affection, but when I am in a public position, I am merciless and strict. Everyone must feel righteous indignation in public matters. It is not bad to have personal relations, but in matters relating to the will of God, we must put an end to them. Pray that I may abandon personal relations for the sake of heavenly relations. This kind of prayer will really console me. No man since the beginning of history has ever accomplished his public mission. Fight, therefore, having the confidence that you are a historical person with a public mission who works in place of those in the past. Try to see yourself as a public figure. A public figure is in a responsible position because he is located in the midway position between above and below, between front and rear, between right and left. If he leaves his position, everything topples down. To have a good conscience means to be on a direct line between heaven and earth. Therefore, a public person must never act according to his own will. The public virtues of loyalty and filial piety are approved, even by men find a way of realizing this. You should be a man who has words to speak and has things to do. Leave something behind upon your death. A man who cannot love his country can never love God. If you surrender 10 times, you will be able to win 10 times. If the entire world goes against you, you will be able to claim all the blessing from the world. Being in a public position means being in the position of an offering. An offering should transcend its consciousness of self and its ideal of possession. Don't minimize the responsibility God has entrusted to you. Add your effort to the gift He has given you. Don't owe debts of heart to brothers and sisters. Maintain your public position. In order to have public authority, pray that God may give you, number one, such faith as will enable you to do anything for His will. Number two, such love as was never given to man from Him. Number three, and wisdom. I am an individual, and yet I am not an individual. I represent everything and all history. If you fail me, therefore, a complicated process of indemnity awaits you. I reproach you in public, in a loud voice, if you violate the heavenly law, not because I hate you, but because without publicly announcing your sin before heaven and earth, I would not be able to indemnify it. Therefore, when I announce it in public, I am already taking responsibility for it. God is no more sorrowful than when He must wake up people who are asleep to give them His blessing. Don't take official objects without deep consideration, and don't handle them roughly. If you handle them carelessly, you will forfeit all your accomplishment. Before receiving blessing, you must establish a condition by which you will never be deprived of that blessing, a condition that will prevent Satan's accusation. The safest way to preserve blessing is to always undergo hardship in a public position. If you are for the public, you are guaranteed by history, the present age, and the future. Thus, to be for the public has historical, contemporary, and future value. No one is so strong, formidable, and wise as he who loves or he who lives consistently for the public. If you are a public being, you cannot say that you belong to yourself, but you are a great being because you belong to the public. And now, on page 104, we should not become a group of people who regard the situation of the nation alone as if it were the situation of the whole. Fire up your public righteous indignation. If 100 people think only of themselves, then you should have more than 100 public thoughts. God cooperates with you if you act by making the most of His will and transcend all your private matters. You should not act according to the desire of your flesh. To be for the public consists in having a reciprocal relationship with a higher center. He who lives for the public has a lifeline in God. If a pledge condition is fulfilled, it is a big condition. When you sweat at the risk of your life and stand up, God cannot help relating to you. And we have a third subtopic, sense of responsibility. It's already 5:28. There's 1, 2, 3 pages of this subtopic. I think we just need to read this tomorrow. And we read today about two subtopics under tradition, official business responsibility, and subtopic tradition and public purpose. So, is there anyone who wants to share about the readings that we have today about tradition and public purpose? Anyone in the teleconference? So for tradition, Father is always encouraging us to, establish the living tradition of history before which all mankind will kneel down in tears and reverence. And my tradition should shape you, and your tradition should shape the nation. And that tradition must be the example which can be followed by this nation and the whole world. So when I was reading this, if this tradition, like Hoon Dok Hae tradition, will shape us, it will shape the nation. And this must be the example for which can be followed by this nation and the whole world. Imagine all the members as one. We have a nationwide Hoon Dok Hae tradition. And what effect will it do, when we, do it as one, not only here in the East Coast, but we do it all over the United States and even the whole continent. And he advises us also to gather achievements over which your descendants will cry. So this is the source of pride. And there are many things here that we read today that are so deep and profound. Like, if the root is deep, the tree grows large. And let us be the locomotive that pulls the fortune of history. So imagining like a box of cars, you go in a railroad track and you pull all this fortune of history. And he reminds us also, even when bleeding at the point of death, never become a descendant of betrayers. So, point of death. So we should not betray our fellow men or our group, even at the point of death. Anyone again who wants to share about our readings today? So if we share whatever somebody knows 30%, if you share about 10% or 40%, we can all, share 100%, and we can learn a lot from sharing. And this is very nice too, about a wise man, even at the point of starvation, does not eat his own piece of bread, but gives it to someone else who is in the same situation, thus receiving a reward which will last for 1,000 years. So Father, in his autobiography, his rice, his cup of rice, he is very wise. He doesn't eat it, by himself. He shared this cup of rice to other prisoners when he was in Pyongyang. And as you can see, if he had give it to himself, there's no reward. But if he does not eat it and give it to someone else, he did receive a reward that will last thousands of years. And anyone who wants to share about the public purpose? So, in the first paragraph here, we read today, blessing is public. In order to receive blessing, therefore, you must become a public offering to set up a condition for that purpose. How precious it is to take the responsibility of a public task. So we always volunteer and we do the worst job that we can find. And I think that's, a public mindset. And a parent who is responsible in a public position can never have also bad children. So in the last days, God will place all men and all nations on the same starting line in order to make them start all over again in the last days. So we are all in the last days. So we are placed in the same starting line. Okay? And he further also advises, assume liabilities yourself while giving the benefits to the public purpose. So serving the public purpose becomes a foundation on which to receive heavenly blessing. Anyone else wants to share today from our readings? And we have here also how, ways to maintain even your public position. In order to have public authority and pray that God may give you, number one, such faith as will enable you to do anything for His will. And number two, such love as was never given to man from Him. And number three, and wisdom. So, if there's nothing else, we all rise and have unison prayer. Our most beloved Heavenly Parents, we're so thankful for these readings today about tradition and the public purpose, under the topic tradition and public purpose, and I think humility. We pray that we can always share this with other people and to our members. And we're so thankful, our Heavenly Parents, for giving us material for even sermons from our pastor and all other brothers and sisters, for giving out your words, traditions. And we pray, our Heavenly Parents, that this Hoon Dok Hae tradition, we can always let it be alive and always be enhanced always. And we pray that we can not only be shaped by you, but shape this nation because of this tradition here in the most powerful capital in this nation and the most powerful city and the most powerful nation in the world. We pray that power, of course, comes responsibilities, and we pray that we can guide all these people around us, especially the senators, the congressmen, the mayor here, Mayor Bowser here in Washington, D.C. We pray, our Heavenly Parents, that we can always be public and serve the public purpose always. And we pray for each other's success as we invite 430 couples per family to this church. And we pray for hardship, as you said, our Heavenly Parents, that without hardship, the blessing wouldn't come. And we always think of not happiness but suffering. And we pray that as we even sing for in our holy songs, that we can always have our fortunes there. And we pray, our Heavenly Parents, that our descendants would always triumph as we do more public purpose, and that will encourage good children and not bad children. And we pray that we can always be of service to you. And we pray all of this in all our names and in my name, Athanasius Francis C. Catalan, and my wife Wasina Catalan, blessed and open. Jew, I'm Jew, Jew. Uri yesowonen tom ia. Gumero sowonen tom imos sambacho sotom tom io ora io esaninen tom inarachande tongil io sora tongil io ora. Good morning to you, our victorious and loving true parents of heaven and earth and humankind. Good morning to the true children, the true grandchildren, and all our brothers and sisters. Good morning.
And good morning, our Heavenly Parents.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Reverend Ezra is here.
Yeah. Yesterday I did a double at my boat.
Good morning, Reverend Oliver. Have a great day, everyone. Have a nice and safe Wednesday. Bye-bye.